Mixing snare drums in rock and metal. That can be tricky, right? Especially if you have a very dynamic performance. And if you want to make all those hits, even the most quiet hits, audible, and you want to make the snare cut through a wall of guitars, that is difficult. I get it, but believe me, there's hope. Because today I'm going to show you a technique that has helped me quite a few times to make even the most dynamic snare drum performance sit in a mix. And I want to do this without using samples. And I want to make that snare sound in your face and punchy. And I want to make it sound natural. That sounds like a mission impossible, I know. But believe me, there's no black magic and no voodoo involved. Let's just head over into Cubase and do it. Here we go. So what we got here is a great sounding drum recording by Mr. Bob Marlette, a legendary producer who has produced albums for Ozzy Osbourne, Alice Cooper, Il Nino, a lot of others. And we are working on a drum course for my upcoming academy together. So if you're interested in learning more about recording and mixing rock and metal, you better subscribe to my email list below and stay tuned, because in October we're going to launch this academy with tons of great courses. And yeah, you also should subscribe to this channel, by the way, if you haven't done that, and ring that damn bell. Thank you. Anyway, we got this drum performance here, and this is like the worst thing that can happen. Listen to this. We got like really punchy main snare hits, but we also got a lot of ghost notes in between. Sounds like this. So that is the worst case scenario. So there is a lot of level variation between the loudest and the softest hits. We can hear that. That's why I've chosen this example, because it's so extreme. And it's really, really difficult to make those lower, softer hits audible. But they are very important for the groove, of course. And in this example, I've already pre-mixed the drums slightly, so they sound pretty good. There's also some reverb on the drums. By the way, that's the reverb, the IR that I recorded at that swimming pool 2 weeks ago. Again, if you join that academy in 3 months, you will also get those IRs. But that's a different story. So I've pre-mixed those drums, and let's have a look at, well, first let's have a listen to the overheads. Here we can clearly hear the ghost notes. So that are constantly going in between the main hits. But let's talk about why it is difficult to make those softer hits audible. Well, the main problem is we need to do something, either automation or compression, to bring them up in level. And the problem is the bleed from the other instruments, especially from the hi-hat. So we can, of course, bring up those quiet hits, but then we will hear a lot of stuff we don't want to hear. And same thing, if we use noise gates, it will be very difficult to catch those hits, because they're just whatever, 20, 30, even more dB quieter than the main hits. And that is the problem. And you all know that I really like a plugin called Drum Leveler that you can see here, which is not a compressor, but it's a plugin that will automatically ride your fader. It will detect the snare hits and try to make them as balanced as possible. But even Drum Leveler can't help here. Let me just show this. This is the snare track only, soloed. So if I try to catch those ghost notes down here, let's see what happens. So you see, it's impossible. I'm even using the sidechain filter here. You can hear that. But still, if we try to do that, Drum Leveler will also detect the hi-hats and make them louder, and that will just sound weird in the end. So for me, there is no real way by using the main snare microphone to make those hits audible. So what can we do? And here comes my little technique. We gotta use another track to make them audible. There are actually two ways we can go. One would be to use the overheads, but I'm not gonna show that in this video. But the other way would be to use the snare bottom mic track. You know, the bottom mic, that always sounds shitty and we never really use it. I always mic the bottom of the snare, but then end up whatever, having the fader at minus 30 dB or something. Same here. So you see, we've got a snare bottom mic here. Sounds like this. You hardly hear it. Let me bring it up a little bit. And here's something you maybe didn't know. If the tuning of your snare is correct, which means you got the lower head, the resonant head, pretty high, pretty much cranked, and if you got your snare wires to respond quickly and fast on every, even the most quiet hit, the resonant head and the snare wires will actually pick up those quiet hits a lot more precisely compared to the batter head. Okay, so down there we can pick up those quiet hits a lot better. And that's what I'm trying to use here. You know, those hits don't need a lot of punch. They don't need a lot of low end anyway. We just got to hear them. And we hear them best through the snare wires. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a compressor on that bottom snare mic. And I'm going to use a pretty unusual one. And this is the R-Vox from Waves, a plugin that I really love. And lately I've been using it not only for vocals, but a lot of stuff. And it works great here. By the way, as usual, there's a link to all the gear used in this video below if you want to check it out. All right, so let's just compress the hell out of this track. And I usually just want to compress it until I feel that all the hits are equally loud. So it almost goes up to 18 dB of compression. What I like about this one here is that it actually cuts off the attack a little bit. It's not a drum compressor. It really smoothes the attack. And I don't like the attack of the snare hits coming from the lower mic anyway. You can hear the difference if we use another more extreme compressor like Talkback Limiter. You do hear a lot more of the actual attack, and that's what I like about the vocal compressor. It really smooths the attack. So let's bring back this highly compressed track into our drum mix, and let's see what happens. You can look at the screen or look at my hand. Magic, right? So this becomes my ghost note fader. Very easy, right? And there's a lot less bleed coming from the hi-hat, from the cymbals. Why? Of course, because the microphone is underneath the snare. That just makes it a lot easier. You can even cut the highs a little bit and EQ it a little bit. Thanks Bob Marlette for recording those great sounding drums, by the way. So that's what I wanted to show you. One last important thing though is you really want to turn that track off on any other part. Because on a part like this, where he's basically just hitting things hard, we don't need that. Right? So you basically just copy your bottom snare mic track. Let me do that now here. And on one of the tracks, you can remove the plugins and just set it to something like -20. And on the other track, you have the plugin on, and then you got to make sure that each track is only playing where it should be playing. Something like this. And that is so powerful to have one fader just for the softer hits of your snare drum. You can just go through your song, and whenever the drummer plays whatever, a drum roll or a break or something with ghost notes, you just, turn on that track and everything sounds natural, dynamic, but a lot more in your face, and all the hits suddenly become audible. Amazing. So I want you to check out that trick, that technique next time you record drums, right? Or next time you record a really groovy and dynamically playing drummer. Last thing I want to say, if you like this video, remember we're coming up with a lot of courses inside the Kohle Audio Cult. So we're building a community, we're building an academy with not only me but also other mentors like Bob Marlette. But we got a lot of cool people coming. We got a lot of courses. You can download a lot of multi-tracks. You can download a lot of samples and a lot of other cool shit very soon. We're launching this in October. If you want to be one of the first people to be notified, you subscribe to my email list. There's a link below. Subscribe to my email list. And on the way down, you also subscribe to this channel and ring the bell. Don't want to make me angry, right? Yeah. Sell your soul to the devil. I can take care of it. That's fine. I think that's all for today. Just a quick and dirty drum lesson. I'm back with more guitar videos. I'm back with more other stuff very soon. And I also will be traveling the world, traveling cool studios, meeting cool people, and we're gonna film everything and gonna do some cool documentaries that we will put inside the academy. So be a part of this, subscribe, and I see you in hell, motherfuckers. Bye-bye.